Okay, 2 days ago we left off with the malach of writing, and okay, so we left off to certain things you're not allowed to read on Shabbos, anything that has to do with business, or anything that might cause a person to write, like or erase, in this part of the mitzvah of erasing. Like a guest list, you might have erase a name or whatever it is. But if it's a mitzvah, so then it doesn't matter. So that's why the makel with guest list for Shabbos, bar mitzvahs, this all sort of a mitzvah. Now what happens, there's a big machlekes in halacha, if you're allowed to read secular wisdom. Are you allowed to read books of secular wisdom, math, science, medicine? Okay, so the custom is that you could permit it. Why? Because it's not business, it's divrei chokhmah. It's wisdom. Nevertheless, it says in halacha, it's better that a person that's serious, in Yiddishkeit, shouldn't be reading, should be refrained from such thing on Shabbos. It's a day for Torah knowledge, it's not for secular knowledge. So there's really an argument in halacha if you're allowed to read secular books on Shabbos. But one thing is for sure, or the same thing about newspapers. Now, in early halacha, it says, years ago, that you're allowed to read, don't forget, you're talking about then it was wartime, it was Jews had pogroms, all those things. So where do people get their basic important knowledge from? Just what's safe and dangerous from the newspapers. So therefore it says in halacha, years ago you're allowed to read a newspaper because you need to know. Maybe you have to run away, maybe you have to, whatever it may be. So later poskim, like contemporary poskim, write that today it really doesn't apply because we don't get a news from the newspaper what's relevant to our life. You get a phone call, you get a text, you don't. So therefore newspapers are not really. So other people say if people have enjoyment of reading newspapers, so again, many people permit reading a newspaper. Today the problem is, this is off the record like they say, when you read a newspaper today, it's this guy got killed and this guy did this and this guy did, it's all very depressing. So it might be a shaila reading a newspaper even during the week, because you're not supposed to get depressed. But this way is brought down in halacha, that depressing news, you're not allowed to read on Shabbos, because Shabbos you have to be happy. So if you want this X amount of soldiers, God forbid, got killed and this and that, it could be depressing. So bottom line is, many opinions say you can read newspapers on Shabbos, many opinions say you shouldn't. The custom is to permit it, but a person wants to be more serious with Shabbos, they shouldn't read a newspaper. But what's definitely forbidden, according to all opinions, is, like we said the other day, the advertisements. You're not allowed to read any Wall Street Journal part or the news, the business section of any newspaper. That for sure you're not allowed to, according to all opinions. Because that's business. You're not allowed to read business in Shabbos. Halachically, you're not allowed to talk business either. But then you just close down all the shuls. But you can't read business, you can't talk business. But the advertisements you're also not allowed to read. So somebody once asked a very interesting shaila. Like years ago at Tzalav Shalom, they used to have Sears catalog. Remember Sears catalog? The older people in the room would remember. Remember? Yeah, all the old people, yeah. Sears catalog. Now, Sears catalog technically is all about business. What they're selling and how much and what, different things. So what happens if somebody is not even interested in buying it? They just enjoy reading a Sears catalog. They have no interest in buying or selling, they're not interested in, they just enjoy reading it. So some people want to say, if that's the case, then you're not reading it for business, for the advertisement. It's like, I'll give you another example. You're allowed to go window shopping on Shabbos. Let's say somebody wants to take a walk down Rodeo Drive and look in the stores and say, pleasant dreams, at the expense of it, but they enjoy doing it. Now, is that called shopping? It's not called shopping. Now, is that what a person ideally should be doing on Shabbos? No. Shabbos you should learn and daven and sleep a little bit and, ideally. But is it forbidden for somebody to walk window shopping and in stores? No, it's not. It's not forbidden halachically. And again, things like that. anything that you're reading for business, you can't read any advertisement that, in fact, some people say you shouldn't read any part of the newspaper because you might read advertisements. But that already, again, goes into the whole issue. Then you can't read any newspaper. Now, another question is like this. Can you read letters that you get on Shabbos? Somebody sends you a letter. So again, it's like the poskim write. Years ago, they said, yes, you're allowed to read letters. Igor Sholim. Why? Because they might tell you information that you need to know. But again, today, nobody corresponds information today with letters. So then letters is not something that's permitted because you need a source of information. It's not a source of information anymore. So what are you reading it for? It's dumb. So therefore, you shouldn't do it. So now the shayla is like this. Is a woman allowed, or a man, are you allowed to read a cookbook on Shabbos? A cookbook, you like recipes. You're not making them on Shabbos, but you want to read a recipe book. So a lot of other people are makel that you can read why? Because you're obtaining knowledge. Again, it's the concept, if you're obtaining knowledge through it, then many poskim say you could. By the way, there's a whole interesting question. We mentioned this briefly in the past. One sec. What happens if somebody's in school and they're having a big math test on Monday, or science test, or whatever, secular test on Monday or Tuesday, so whatever? Are you allowed to study on Shabbos for the test? Now, this din, it has different parts to it. Number one, are you allowed to read the work? Okay? So let's say you hold that this wisdom, so you're allowed to study it. But the question is that considered preparing from Shabbos for the weekday? So you have the same question which is asked if a kid has a Gemara test on Sunday, or a big Chumash test on Sunday, which many school yeshivas, the kids get tests Sunday, they have time over Shabbos to review the Chumash or Gemara, whatever it is. So are you allowed to study Chumash or Gemara on Shabbos, but you're learning it mamish for the test? So the din is, it's not a problem in Torah. Why is it Torah? Because Torah itself is a mitzvah. I'm learning for some, but meanwhile I'm learning Torah, I'm getting a mitzvah, so I would be allowed to do it. So some people say you're not allowed to study for a secular test on Shabbos for the weekday because you're mamish preparing from Shabbos for the weekday. But if you hold, again, that really you're accumulating knowledge, so even though your intent is for the test in the weekday, as long as you don't say it. In other words, one thing is for sure, even for learning was not so bad. You're not allowed to say, I have to go study on Shabbos. You say, I have to go study for my math test. That for sure you're not allowed to say. Because then you're clearly saying, I'm preparing now for the weekday. If you're just reading, you don't say anything, so then many poskim hold you could, many poskim hold you can't. Same thing as in Shulchan Aruch. What happens, somebody has to be up late Saturday night. So they want to go to sleep Shabbos afternoon. Their entire intent is they're taking a red-eye flight, so they want to rest up the whole Shabbos afternoon. Okay, so now the question is that sleep on Shabbos preparing for after Shabbos? So the halacha is it's not. Why? Because sleeping on Shabbos is enjoyment. Not only, but you're not allowed to say, even by sleeping, you're not allowed to say, I'm going to sleep now to stay up tonight.
Why is saying it the issue?
Because then you're openly saying that I'm doing it as a preparation.
Yeah,
if you don't say it as a preparation, you think. It doesn't matter. But again, because you're attaining wisdom, so that's something I'm gaining now also. What did you want?
So like a paper, let's say like the Jewish Journal, it's better to refrain from reading that on Shabbat, let's say, if there's advertising something to do with Torah sometimes.
Again, is that the best thing to do on Shabbos? No. It's better to learn Chumash, Mishnah, Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, Tilim, it's definitely much better. Are you allowed to read that? Technically, again, there's different poskim that say you're allowed to. Mishnah holds you're not allowed to. So, other poskim say you could, he could. He brings on, if I'm not mistaken, Mishnah Yaakov that says you could read newspapers on Shabbos. But, so there's different opinion if you could read a newspaper. The minig is that people permit it. Okay? Even, again, not everybody agrees with that, but the minig in the world is that they do allow people to read newspapers. But you have to be careful that you're not allowed to read advertisements. Or anything that has to do with business. Or, halachos, that we mentioned this before, you can't read any depressing news on Shabbos, because Shabbos you're not allowed to be sad. What?
What's the thing say the caveat of advertisements? Like reading about a Pesach program or something that would be advertisement?
Pesach program is an advertisement for a Pesach program. Or a new book came out from, in those places, Art Scroll or this place, you're reading about the new set of Swarm that came out, which is an advertisement to buy it. That's the purpose of the ad there, to buy it. It's not just to inform you, it's not to inform, by the way, guess what? There's a new Sefer came out. They're not going to spend money in the newspaper to tell you that. They're going to tell you, put the ad in that you should buy those for them.
Why is it out of their intent? If it's my intent just to know, oh, now the Rashba material that's translated in English, that's beautiful.
Yeah, but that's not what the purpose of the ad is. The purpose of the ad is for business. No, but it goes by their intent. Why is it there?
Window shopping.
Window shopping, what? The store is there. Here they're putting an ad in the newspaper for you to buy it. So that would be forbidden. Again, cookbooks, they write you're allowed to read. Starting for test, we said, okay, what happens if somebody wants to read food labels? You want to read food labels. So there could be a few reasons why people, either because they're bored. Why in the world would a person, I'll tell you there's three reasons why a Jewish person will want to read the food labels, meaning the ingredients or whatever it is, on Shabbos. Number one, it could be you want to know what bracha to make on it. You look at the ingredients, you have to know what bracha is. Secondly, another reason could be you want to know if it's kosher. Even though, as everybody knows, anybody with minimal amount of kashrus knowledge, ingredients can only tell you it's 100% treif. If it's kosher or not, there's no way ingredients can tell you what it is. Because they're allowed to put up to 2% anything they want in it, and they don't have to list it in the ingredients. That's the rule, the law. They could put up,
It's not that's what it's called.
It used to be like that, for sure.
You don't have to put it in order anymore, but if it's under 2%, it still has to be on there.
Does? Then they changed the law. When we were growing up, it was known in the kashrus world, up to 2%, they're allowed to put in without even mentioning it in the ingredients. And that 2% is only 1 in 50, not 1 in 60. Okay, if the law changed, the law changed. But even then you can't know, because you don't know what vessels it was made, which plant it was made in, what else they make on the same equipment, kosher treif. There's no way. There was one company, I'm not saying what it is, they used to make cranberry juice. On the same equipment, they were making clam juice. They just rinsed it in between. And it's hot, it's pasteurized, right? So they're making cranberry juice, and the same equipment they were making clam juice, which is mamash treif, right? So you can't know anything from ingredients. But let's say you want to know if it's kosher, number one, you want to know what bracha it is, or they write another thing. You want to know if it's healthy or not, which is another farce. In the health food, you want to know if it's healthy. So they'll take poison and they'll write health food, and then it's okay, you could eat it, even though, God forbid, you could die. But so then, poskim write, you could read food labels on Shabbos again for the same reason, because it's knowledge, and it's not, you're not reading it for business, you're reading it for knowledge, whether it's kosher, whatever it is.